So hello everyone, Heidi here from Rain Country, and God is good all the time. I'm going to go ahead and get into these questions. I want to start with the quilt thing. Sunday's live, I was showing the quilt that goes on my freezer, which got me a couple questions that one I did answer, but one I kind of didn't quite fully cover. And so I brought this in because I'm going to talk about it different, something else about this particular one. But somebody was asking if I leave the freezer quilt on year round. Yes, I made the quilt to go on the freezer to stay there all the time, no matter what time of the year it is. So here's the thing. Whether you've got solar or public power or whatever, having a quilt over your freezer, not only if it's a chest freezer, not only does it make it look nicer, but while you've got power going to it, it's still going to help conserve the power. So you're not using as much, so that it's you're making it more energy efficient by doing that. So excuse me, that's why when I made the quilt, I made it to fit the top of that without being too big or too short, where all around the sides, it would not only just cover the top, because you can lose a lot out of the top, but also hang over the seals of the freezer. So the seals are where you tend to get a lot of leakage, especially if they're wore out. Which brings me to another point in regards to the freezer, because this was the one I came across that I was like, oh, I didn't see that when we were live. And somebody said that they made the quilt and they put it over their freezer, but the freezer seals are leaking and it made a mess. My guess is that maybe it made the quilt wet. If your freezer is leaking or causing a lot of condensation, you might have bad seals. So this is in the freezer that we keep in the house, this big, huge chest freezer. We have another one out in the shop that's really old, and it does tend to build up a lot of condensation on the top, but I think part of that's because it's outside. Or out in the shop. But one thing that's going to help prevent on your chest freezers, that's going to help prevent your seals getting damaged, is don't put heavy things on your freezer, and don't use your freezer to climb on top of to get to other things. Get a step ladder. I had to learn this one too. Patrick was the one that was getting on to me about it when we were, early on in the marriage. I wouldn't have known. It's like, oh, it's something to climb on because I'm short, right? I'm 5 foot tall. I got to climb up on stuff to get, to the top cabinet. But yes, if you're climbing on top of your chest freezer or putting heavy objects on top of it, you will damage the seals. And then you'll make your freezer a lot less efficient. Now, coming back to this quilt I made from, I mentioned it, I can't remember I can't remember what video I recently mentioned it in, or if it was in a live. Well, this one was made from all secondhand stuff. So there's like some old wool sweater in here that I found at a garage sale. This dark gray was a wool blanket I found at a garage sale that had a big hole in it. And that's why I decided to use that. But a lot of this, like this here, is wool sock tops. So when the bottom of the sock would get wore out, instead of darning it like I normally would, I decided to save. These were the cheaper socks, by the way, not the darn tough ones. But anyway, I would cut the tops off, open them up, and then, get them as square as possible. And then I made a quilt out of it. However, now what you're seeing is a bunch of patches from other wool socks, because the gray in particular, and it was a baby sweater. It must have been very old. I use this quilt quite a bit on the couch. It's very warm, but they're so thin that they've been, holes have been getting in them. So I just started throwing patches. Now there weren't that many holes, but what I'll do is I'll throw more patches on there just to, just so you don't have a patch here and here and here, and then nothing over here, just to kind of keep it looking uniform. But I love this quilt. I found another hole though, just like recently. And again, in the dark gray. I don't know how old that wool blanket was, but definitely a hole I need to patch yet again. So that was an update I wanted to do on that quilt since I was talking about quilts. Now, on the freezer, do not cover the fan vents. Good point. Yes, ours are at the bottom. To the fermentation question, since somebody really wanted to hear this one. Somebody was asking if my ferments, when I use my fermentation starters, like you saw in the thumbnail, which I did link to that video in the description box. It's my most recent fermentation starter video where I talk about how to make it, the things you can use to make it, how simple it is, and all the wonderful things you can use it for. So this question was in regards to when you use a fermentation starter, does it make whatever you're fermenting taste like the starter? Generally speaking, no, because the flavor is so mild in most cases that, like when I'm making kimchi, which is, it's got a lot of strong flavor in it because you got the cabbage, the onions, the garlic, the red pepper. No, doesn't matter what fermentation starter I use, I don't taste that. There's been something I used a starter in, like maybe I was making a fermented fruit juice, so like making a soda, that I could slightly taste whatever it was. It was a berry flavor, and it didn't matter because what I was making, it just actually added a nice extra flavor to it. But in most cases, no, it does not change the flavor. If I have a ginger bug or a ginger fermentation starter, I'm more apt to use that one when I'm making kimchi. But if I don't have that handy, I'll use whatever's there. Whatever one's the most active and ready to go. I usually try to always have at least 2 at all times. And because sometimes I'll use one and then once I use it, I want to give it time to get, feed it, add some more water, and give it a day to really get bubbly again. So I don't want to, if I've already done that and I realize, oh, I was wanting to ferment this today too, then I'm going to grab one of the other fermentation starters. So the next one, the honey. The question is, and I don't know where this suddenly started out of the blue, but you can tell when, you've been putting out videos for 8.5 years. There's things I've changed along the way, yes, but a lot of the things that I've been doing the same all the time, or those videos have been out there for that long and not still getting interaction. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this happened with the castor oil and plastic. Nobody ever said a word about it until about a year or so ago. All of a sudden, people are freaking out about castor oil and plastic. Not to say that storing it in glass isn't a better idea. It's always a better idea to store in glass if you can. Well, I shouldn't say always. Sometimes there's situations where glass isn't going to be the best idea. But then this one was in regards to using metal in honey. So I actually did a separate video just on this because suddenly people were just coming in freaking out about seeing me use a stainless steel spoon in my raw honey. I mean, some people were asking honest questions, but then you get the people that want to, and it's like, oh, come on, people. You learn all the facts before you start lecturing people. So here's the thing. Some people might not even realize that when raw honey is processed, when they're spinning the honeycomb to get the honey out, they're using stainless steel equipment. Look it up. Stainless steel can be used with honey. It can be used with bentonite clay. That's the other one people freak out about when they see people using metal with. And it can be used with ferments. All 3 of those. The reason why is because it's non-reactive. You don't have to worry about it changing the property of the honey, the property of your ferments, or the property of your bentonite clay. It's not a concern. Stainless steel is safe. You can even buy the little honey dippers. You can get them in wood, but you can also buy them in stainless steel. Before you jump on a bandwagon and freak out because somebody over here said something, make sure you look up all the facts, especially before you start lecturing people and trying to make them feel like they're stupid. Learn all the facts first. I made that mistake before, heard something and then, because I did that when I was fermenting. So for the longest time, when I first started making kimchi, and this was back when my oldest son was like 5 or 6. I know because I remember him being 6 years old and loving the kimchi, even though I make it really hot. But I was making kimchi. I would first put all the cabbage into a big stainless steel bowl and then put the salt on there, let it break down. And then I would rinse it out, leave it overnight, and I'd rinse it out. And then I'd add my other vegetables, and I'd do all that in this stainless steel bowl. And I read somewhere that you shouldn't let your fermented foods or foods you're going to ferment touch metal at all. And so oh no. And so I went, when I saw it at an auction, I found a big glass punch bowl, just not a fancy one. I was like, it was perfect. It was just looked like a big massive bowl. I'm like, this would be perfect for my kimchi. So I bought that and that's all I'd make my kimchi in from that point on. Well, come to find out, it was never even necessary. I could have still kept using the stainless steel, so I'm guilty of that too. I'm not trying to make anyone else feel stupid for, just latching on to something, running with it, because I've been guilty of this many times. I understand. Just want to make sure that's clear. Let's move on. So I answered those questions. Okay, so the next one was about this stuff. You guys know what this is. Okay, I'm afraid to even say what this is because I don't know. So this is a precious metal. You can see what color it is, so you know what precious metal I'm talking about. These are obviously brand new ones that I haven't used to make the infused water with. I'll have to put it that way. I tell you, I don't know what to say anymore. So that is what's in here. I store it. Once I make it, I store it in dark bottles like this, or I have a couple of bottles like this with the spray. And this one I need to refill. And so the question was, somebody was saying they were trying to find the video where I was talking about where to buy this stuff. So where to buy your precious metals. So all of the videos in relation to this can only now be found on Rumble. I've taken everything down that I could find that's from YouTube and put it over on Rumble, and even did a couple videos where I just reshot them anyway. And one of them also includes the video Patrick did several years ago on how to make the generator for yourself. But we also do sell. He still makes the generators and sells them. So rancountryhomestead@gmail.com if you would like a product list. But if you want to just learn how to make one for yourself, you can go to the Rumble channel. Is always linked in the description box. Go to the playlist tab and scroll down until you see the playlist on the precious metals. There's 2 mentioned in it. So along with that was another question that I feel like I can still answer. Oh, somebody was asking about a good deodorant. Well, that was another video I took down from this because I really kind of got paranoid because I mentioned this stuff in my deodorant video. That's actually the number one thing I use now with a little bit of essential oil. So I use spray bottle, and in the other bathroom I have this liquid with a little bit of peppermint oil in it, because I also find it works really good if I get an itchy rash of any kind. I spray that on there. It kills whatever's causing it, and then the peppermint oil soothes it. But I've even used it for brushing my teeth with, but I like to use it as a deodorant. But you can use whatever essential oil in there you want. So if you're using it as a deodorant, maybe you're a guy, you want a more masculine smelling deodorant, you can just add like cedarwood oil. You can add patchouli. I actually find I really like cedarwood and patchouli mixed together because I make Patrick's deodorant. He uses a dry powder, but I use those 2 in his, a pine, whatever. There's many out there that can make great ones. You can do some citrus oils. One of my favorite scents or blends to use for a scent, for aroma, like a perfume, is a blend of clove and orange oil. In fact, I have a little bottle of the two oils mixed together, and I'll just dab a little bit like this if I'm going anywhere. And somebody, I'll walk in, someone go, kind of, it smells really spicy and yummy in here. Oh, that's me. It's me. There's other types of things you can use as deodorant. You can just use plain coconut oil if you want, or coconut oil mixed with baking soda. When I make the powder deodorant, like I say, I have a recipe out there. I use a combination of like a tapioca starch, some kind of starch, and the baking soda. So because baking soda alone can be a little harsh, it would make Patrick's armpits break out. So when I spread that out where I was using like a half and half blend, that didn't bother him. Because the cornstarch also, or whatever starch you use, usually I'm using arrowroot or tapioca. It also is very soothing and it helps to absorb moisture. So, but it's powder, so you can brush it on or whatever. Okay, and then this is one of the ones I missed on the night sweat. So a guy was asking about his wife, and she's just going into menopause. So that was another video I did link to down below on natural care for menopause. But in that video, I wasn't talking about the linen sheets because I didn't have linen sheets yet, hadn't tried them yet. And when it comes to night sweats, linen sheets, absolutely. Linen pajamas. If you can afford the linen sheets and the linen pajamas, it's a game changer. So I bought the linen sheets to try them out. Liked them so much, I bought a second set. And then I bought some linen fabric and made myself about 3 sets of linen pajamas. Well, 2 full sets for certain. And 1 top to go with one of my flannel bottoms. Because usually it's your upper half that gets the hottest. So, and I know a lot of you ladies understand that one. Keeping a fan in the room, or this time of year, I don't have to have the fans going. I just crack the window open a little bit, and usually all's well. Also look into ashwagandha. It can be very helpful. There's a lot of other herbs that can be helpful that I cover in that video that I link to down below. So don't forget to click on show more to be able to find all these links. Let's see. Somebody also asked, and I'm not positive what they were in reference to, but was asking where I get my labels. And I assume they are talking about the labels I use on my skin cream tins, or even on my wine bottles. They're just Avery labels. I find them on Amazon. I'm sure you can find them probably, like we don't have a local Walmart or anything like that, but you can probably find them in any place that carries that kind of stuff, office supplies. But I just get them on Amazon, like for the smaller tins, which I'll probably eventually discontinue. But for the 2-ounce tins, they're 2-inch round labels. And then for the 4-ounce tins, they're 2.5-inch round labels. And then I use the square labels for the back, for the underside to put the ingredients. So, yeah, that's what I get. And then for the wine bottles, if you ever see pictures of those, it's the arched bottle labels. I don't always use those on the wine bottles, only if I'm going to gift them, I think I'm going to gift them, or if I think I'm going to use them for barter. Any suggestions on head congestion with ear pressure and hissing sound? Well, here's an old-fashioned method. Do you remember the old steaming method? Yeah, even just taking a hot shower, but if you don't want to do that, just take a pan, fill it up with hot water, get it to where it's boiling, and then remove it from the heat, and then just put your face over it, and then make sure you're breathing through your nose as best you can to get that hot steam up into your sinuses. That's going to help. You can also consider throwing in some herbs in there that can also help, like making a peppermint tea or something like that. Then there's also your hot mustards like horseradish or wasabi. Take a little dab of that and just eat it, and that's going to help open things up in there. There's a lot you can do that that can really help to open up. I see. Yes, I was going to say the ACV and cayenne steams is what I do. There you go. I mean, sometimes it's just as simple as doing the water, but when it's me, I usually throw some kind of herbs in there that I know are also going to be helpful. So yeah, mullein is another good one, like Trina said, because, well, mullein is just really good for lung health in general anyway. Yeah, any respiratory issues. This one also was not a question, but somebody had mentioned, and I don't want this to sound like anything negative, but somebody had mentioned that people could use coupons to help them stock up on foods. And while, yes, that can be an option, it really depends on where you're using them. If you're talking about just a regular grocery store, the problem with a lot of the coupons that are given, if you're paying attention, they're typically for things that are higher priced prepackaged foods anyway that really aren't great. This was a realization I made at a very young age. I'd see coupons in the local newspaper because we actually used to get those. And I go, oh, cool. I've never tried that, or I haven't had that in a long time. I'm going to go ahead and use this coupon and get some. What was it? It was usually something I would never buy anyway, because it was something that was, it was some prepackaged stuff that I really didn't need. And I got to think, and it just struck me one day. It's like, why are coupons always for this kind of stuff? It's never for, oh, here's a coupon for some fresh fruits and vegetables. No, you don't have coupons for those things. Now, you can get coupons for non-edible foods or non-edible foods. It's not food if it's not edible. For non-edible items, like maybe laundry detergent or something. But then again, if you're making your own laundry detergent out of really, really cheap things, you're not going to want to use those coupons anyway. So usually they're for things that just cost more anyway. So typically you're not really saving money unless that's all you consist off of is prepackaged foods, and you haven't got yet into making your own deodorants and tooth powders or toothpastes or whatever. So just keep that in mind. There are places coupons can be used. Like a lot of times you go to, Amazon will have coupons you can clip if it's something you're going to buy anyway. And it's like, oh, I was going to buy this anyway. That's cool. I got a coupon I can clip. Vitacost will have coupon codes, just like the Shepherd's Crook has a coupon code. But when it comes to like cutting coupons, most of the time it's a waste of time, and you're only spending more money buying things that you probably wouldn't buy otherwise. So yeah, I remember when one day I was at the store and I was looking at this stuff I was thinking of buying because I had these coupons. I'm like, well, this is dumb. I'm not saving any money doing this. I'm just spending more money on stuff I normally wouldn't buy. So yeah, just some food for thought when it comes to using coupons. Really pay attention. A lot of times the coupons are to get you to buy a product you don't need. Is the metal elixir only for topical use? I did mention earlier, even though I have my elderberry tincture, so for when my vocal cords start swelling, I always keep this handy when I'm doing a show because I have nodules on my vocal cords. So they're kind of rough today again. And so if they start getting itchy, I spray that on there because it's an alcohol-based. I don't remember which alcohol. It is a spirit-based tincture, and so it does a couple of things. The spirit, just by spraying it straight back there, will numb the vocal cords, and then the herbs that are in there, which is mostly elderberry in this case, will also help. All right. It's just good for the help. If I might be getting a cold, which isn't the case, then that's going to help with that. But I've also used the precious metal elixir with this essential oil peppermint and sprayed it back there. And that's also quite helpful, especially when it gets rough, starts to really get itchy and sore. It's quite, hi, Cody. You can come in here. Here, Cody tiptoeing in here. Come here, doggy. You want to say hi to everybody? It's like, I think he must have been sleeping and just realized he was in the other room alone. Come here, puppy. Come here, let's come up and say hi to everybody. Look at him. He's getting old, guys. He's getting gray around his eyes. Right here. He didn't used to have this gray here. And then I noticed the white spreading out on his muzzle a little bit more too. He's getting old. I think he's 10. I think him and his sister are 10. I know that's not really old for a dog, but then again, small dogs can be pretty wound up sometimes. His sister's the worst for barking at everything. So we will get Heidi to keep spraying a lot and see if she starts slurring. It was funny. I was thinking that, Trina. It's like, it's such a small amount that no, but I would have to spray quite a bit down my throat to feel any effects down it. And I'm not going to do that. It is great though. And that's why I like it that way, because I can control, not only can I spray it directly to the back of my throat, I can control the amount where, like, if you put it in like a little shot glass and you're trying to sip it, which I've done that before too, then I kind of let it run down my throat. But the spray makes it so much easier to get it right where I need it. And then it's just a tiny little amount. Can a fermentation starter turn to wine in the fridge? Yes, it can. It will keep, even though it's in the fridge and the fridge slows it down and almost puts it in, in a hibernation. Not quite. The longer it sits, the more. In fact, I pulled one out today or yesterday, and I noticed it smelled like wine. Once it goes completely to wine, it may not work as a fermentation starter, but you can use it for something else. If you can get it fizzy again, it'll be fine. Sometimes if it has any little bit of fizz left to it, you can just add a little bit of sugar to it, set it on your counter and let it sit for a day to 3 days and it will get fizzy again. Or you could just make a new one. Just, as easy as they are to make, they're so, only takes 3 days, 4 to 5 days if your house is really chilly. The colder it is, the longer it's going to take. Anyway, hope you all have a great rest of your day and rest of your week, and take care and God bless.